If you love to see videos of new products to decide whether or not you want to buy them, then this video is for you. Hi everyone, I'm Rebecca Keppel, and I am super excited about this video for two reasons. First is I haven't filmed a new and must-have crafty supplies video in a while. And secondly, this video also has a giveaway open to all because I did hit 30,000 subscribers, and I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for being here, for subscribing, for commenting, and for just being great crafty friends. So stick around until the end of the video and I'll share how to enter. So first, let's take a quick look at the products that caught my eye this month. Of course, I had to grab the new Distress Color Lost Shadow. I always buy the Oxide refill, the paint, and the Distress Oxide spray. Those are definitely what I get. Sometimes I get other products as well, but those are my mainstay items. And I did get them all for Lost Shadow, which is a light gray. And I'll go over a little bit later how it fits into the rest of the Distress family. Next up is a die set from Simon Says Stamp, designed by CZ Design. It is a word die that says hi there. Everything's connected except for the dot, and you get a shadow die as well so that you could pop it up if you want to do that, or have two-tone colors like I have there. Here we have the PinkFresh Studio Spring Vibes 6x6 pattern paper pad. These are double-sided sheets, and there are just some of the most beautiful spring colors and designs, everything from hearts to dots to lines to flowers to rainbows, just everything you could want out of a spring pattern paper pad. Next up is the Paper Rose Studio Hey Mate die cuts. A bunch of you have asked for more masculine cards, or cards for guys, cards for boys, cards for men. And when you see something like this, I recommend grabbing it. This is a bunch of die cuts. You just punch them out and use them. And having things like this in your stash can make it a lot easier to make those masculine cards. I also grabbed some foil plates from PinkFresh Studio. These are the frames, rectangle frame foil plates, and I didn't have anything like this in my stash, and I wanted something that gave me the ability to create gold foil or any type of foil frames on cards. So first, I want to take a closer look at the new Distress color and see how it fits into the colors I already have. Whenever I feature a new Distress color in my new and must-have crafty supplies videos, I like to do a couple of things. First, I like to stamp them out with the other colors that they might be close to so that you can see that it is genuinely a brand new color. It is different from everything else in the line. And I have Distress Oxide inks. You could do the same thing with regular Distress inks. I just like Oxides because they're so creamy. So I am stamping out also pumice stone, weathered wood, and hickory smoke. And you can see that this new Lost Shadow is its very own color. So next we have to blend them out because you have to see the difference between a stamped color and then a blended color to really see that this is a brand new gray, and it is perfect for adding shading and for adding just a little touch of gray to your cards. I also spritzed the Distress Oxide spray at the bottom, and I'm doing a little swipe of the paint so that you can see those as well, but we'll definitely use them in the video too. It's just such a pretty color. I really love this gray. This has got to be my favorite gray now in the Distress family. Now I want to share how to use the PinkFresh Studio foil plates in a couple of different ways. So I am going to foil on one of the pattern papers from the PinkFresh Studio pad. So I have a piece of gold foil and I have it taped behind the pattern paper with some pixie tape so that it holds it in place. I'm going to pull out the platform once it's heated up and then place my foil with the color side facing the plate down and the silver side facing the cardstock, and then put my clear plate and shim on top. So you can check this out. This is a beautiful gold foil frame on a gorgeous piece of pattern paper. I also have the Glimmer Specialty clear sheets. Now these are clear acetate sheets that are meant to work with the Glimmer machine. They're a little thicker acetate than I would normally use, but I really like that you can foil them. The foiling came out beautiful. I did do it slightly off center, but I'll just trim it down later. But I love how you can get that clear acetate with foiling on it. Last but not least, I am going to try it on vellum. Now, I have had some issues foiling on vellum, I have a feeling the plasticiness of the vellum doesn't pick up the foil as well as paper does, or a specialty acetate like that. So I had to run it through my die cut machine 3 times with the foil plate there. And there's a little spots that's missed, but in all, I like the way that looks. Now that we've reviewed the new products, let's dive right in and use them to make a few cards. For this first card, I'm going to use some of the die cuts, and I bet you thought that there wasn't a piece of pattern paper in the PinkFresh Studio pad that would work with these die cuts. Well, I found this really nice blue and white stripe. It's like a diagonal stripe. So I'm going to cut that down to 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm going to mat it on some black cardstock. And that simple effect of using the black as a contrast color and then also using the die cuts on top really takes this from that softer look to the ability to just be a subtle background for some really bold die cuts. And I'm popping these up on foam tape. These are really easy to use. You just pop them out. You can either use liquid adhesive or tape runner or foam tape. I decided I wanted red, but I wanted it in a couple of places. So I took that large red star and I cut it in half, used some tape runner, and applied it in 2 different places. So it looks like it's popping out or coming up from behind that level up, or that level complete, which I think is such a great sentiment for a birthday, level complete for a gamer. And I love that I was able to use that pattern paper from that really light spring pad. Okay, now we're going to go into more of the spring vibes with that pattern paper pad. And I have a flower and then another pattern cut down. The flower is cut down to smaller than 4 by 5 1/4 because I really wanted to see some of that background pattern that has the larger flowers. I'm going to use the Simon Says Stamp CZ Design Hi There. I have the shadow cut out of a blue and the Hi There cut out of a pink. The nice thing about that shadow is then you can pop it up on your card. Last but not least, I did add some gold gems from Spellbinders just in the intersecting parts of the lines, those diagonal lines. And I really think that those just are the perfect little touch for embellishing this card. I really liked this pattern paper, but it is a little bit busy if you're trying to do something delicate like the Hi There. So I'm going to cut out the Hi There out of white. I cut the shadow out of a different color of pattern paper so it will match the yellows in this background will match the yellows in the pattern that I'm using on the card. And then I'm going to use my embellishment tool to pick up the little dot for the eye and stick that on. Now I'm going to put some liquid adhesive behind it and I'm going to use the vellum frame with the gold foiling on it. And then I'm going to flip that over and put some adhesive behind the Hi There die cut so that it will hide behind that vellum. And the vellum does the trick of kind of toning down the pattern a little bit, the busyness of it, so that you can really see the Hi There and it still stands out. I'm going to use the gold mirror cardstock that I cut the Hi There out of for another card, and I'm going to use that as a mat for this card. So I have 2 gold foil frames, I have that vellum toning down that really pretty pattern, and it all just comes together. Next up, I have another of the pattern papers. This one is kind of an artistic looking one with paint splatters. And then I'm going to use the pattern paper that we foiled the frame on top of. So I love this pattern paper as well. It's kind of that gradient of color from a pink down to a yellow. And I'm just going to cut that a little bit smaller so you can see the pattern paper behind it. This time I am just going to use the Hi There, not the shadow. So that's another option that you have with this die set. You don't always have to use the shadow, and it really does stand out just fine, especially with that gold mirror cardstock that is consistent with the gold that I used on the foil. For this card, I am going to cut another piece of the pattern paper. This green one is kind of a grungier looking one. It's got some paint splatters as well. So I'm just popping up these die cuts on some foam tape right on top of the acetate. Then I'm going to flip the acetate over and make some thin lines of liquid adhesive right behind the gold foiling, and then turn it back over and lay it on that green. So now you have this kind of bright, shiny card. that isn't glittery or feminine at all. For this pattern paper, I'm going to use another way to tone down the center to put my sentiment on. And this time I'm going to use the Distress Paint in Lost Shadow. I just put some on my glass mat and got it all over the paintbrush, and I'm just swiping it back and forth. Basically, what I want to create is just a paint swipe in the center of this pattern paper so that the dots will be toned down and I'll be able to put the die right on top. I cut the die cut out of black foam and black cardstock. Yes, you could just stick with the black foam. I didn't like the way the black foam looked. I like my cardstock better. It's a little bit darker and just true black. So I just adhere those together. And then I used that cardstock that I cut the high there out of to mat the pattern paper on top of. So it's got that nice black outline, and then the black sentiment will go in the center with just a little bit of liquid adhesive behind it, and then putting a little dot above the eye and an embellishment tool to position that dot right above the eye. Super, super simple card, but I love the way you can use paint for toning down your pattern papers. On this cardstock, I am going to ink blend Lost Shadow. Now, in camera here, you can't really see it, but what that Lost Shadow does is just kind of tone down the white again, but it also gives it a slightly grungier appearance. So I have a pretty blue plaid in the background, and I wanted to be able to use the die cuts on top, and I think the gray of the ink blending kind of helps that. I also did splatter some of the Distress Oxide spray by just taking the nozzle out and flicking it, and that also creates a little bit of a grungier look that allows those die cuts to work with that pattern paper. So we ink blended, we painted, we spritzed. I thought it was time to do some stamping. You may remember this 6x6 stamp. It's from Hero Arts. It was from their spring release. I used it very recently, and I told you I'd be using it again. It is a great versatile background, so it belongs in this new and must-have crafty supplies video as well. So I stamped with the Lost Shadow, which is the perfect color for that background. And I'm just going to spritz a little bit of the Distress Oxide spray right on top of that stamped panel. Next, I'm going to adhere a couple of the die cuts. I have Stay Cool at the bottom, and then I'm going to pop up the top one, which says, "Hey brah, happy birthday." And I have some stars. Again, I love stars. I think stars are just such a great embellishment for birthdays and other cards, and I just matted it on some cardstock that seemed to perfectly match the font of Stay Cool. And now, the moment you've been waiting for, the giveaway. As I mentioned, this giveaway is open to all. I'm giving away an $100 gift card to Simon Says Stamp. All you have to do is fill out the Google form, which is in the description box below this video. Please be cautious about spammers and people who are impersonating me here on YouTube. I'll never ask for your phone number, I'll never ask you to send me money, and I always reach out to the winner of my giveaways through email. So again, I just want to thank you so much for being here and supporting me by subscribing and commenting and chatting with me in the comments about new products, about card making, about weather, whatever it is. I really enjoy having made so many crafty friends here on YouTube. So as always, thank you so much for stopping by and spending time with me today. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you again soon.